Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Attack or defence? Just where is our weak point? Finally, some transfer news coming out of the Revolution camp.
NERevsUK.
All things Revolution from a UK perspective.
Hello everybody, my name is Mike and welcome back to the NERevsUK podcast, all things Revolution from a UK perspective. And we've got a fair bit to get through in today's episode. I just want to start off by apologising for the last episode being so long. I realise it's probably quite hard to listen to one person ramble on for half an hour, so we'll try and keep this one a little bit shorter. We've got obviously the game against Columbus Crew to recap and dissect. We've also got a little bit of news coming out of the Revolution camp as well, some in terms of transfer news. And then we are looking ahead towards the game against Toronto as well. So I'll give you my prediction of the lineup, what I think the lineup will be, as well as my prediction on the score. So, Columbus Crew against New England, the first game in Gillette Stadium of the 2019 season. So us take on a very, decent Columbus Crew team. I don't think anybody was under the impression that it would be an easy home fixture. But the scoreline was obviously 2-0. The Revolution getting off to a pretty bad start in terms of home fixtures. You want your home stadium, although it's not our stadium, but where you play your home games to be a fortress and a place that teams don't like coming. And off the back of that now, a lot of teams are going to be thinking, whereas last season there might have been, slight issues with them coming to Gillette Stadium and thinking, we might not pick up some points here. Looking at the result alone, let alone the performance, 2-0 loss in your first home game of the season isn't it's possibly the worst thing you can do in a season. So we'll talk about through the lineup first of all, then we'll kind of dissect the game as well. So starting lineup, obviously we lined up in the 4-2-3-1 formation. Brad Knighton starting in goal. No real qualms with that one. I mean, I don't think he had a terrible game against Dallas. I don't really, I still think that the other, especially Matt Turner's distribution is the better out of the three. I've not really seen much of Cody in the last, obviously, 18 months or whatever it's been. So it's quite hard to judge on where the level he is at. But for me, at the moment, I don't think it's a massive concern to be starting Brad in goal. I don't think, he was at fault in terms of the goals. I don't think that the people are at fault for them. I think they shouldn't have been getting into the positions they were getting into. So from goalkeeping point of view, not really too bothered. The back four pretty much named itself, I suppose. Mantien coming in for Andy Barbar. A little bit harsh on Andy Barbar because he didn't really have a bad game against Dallas at all. I understand that obviously Mantien was the person who won the spot and would have been there originally. But, I think Andy Barbar came in, he did a good job. And to be fair, it's not a here nor there again for that one for me. I think Mantien, he's our captain, so I understand that, the logic behind him being on the pitch. Delamay again had a really, really good game. I'm actually liking him more and more each game. I've always been a pretty good fan of him anyway, but just recently I've just really noticed him actually stepping up to the plate as almost the senior along the back line. I think he's got a good shout of him for being the captain. If I'm perfectly honest, I know Scotty Caldwell's vice captain, but for me, he's definitely in with a shout. Brandon Boyd right back. I mean, he was pretty much the only person we could have played there. Luckily, his obviously red card got overturned, as I think possibly Jones would have played there. If not, obviously, I think they may have tried Andy Barbar there as the first option, as I think he'd probably potentially be the better defensive option there, rather than obviously an attacking option. And obviously Castillo on the left-hand side. Again, I think that back four pretty much names itself at the moment until Andrew Farrell's fully fit, which we've had some news out of the camp. Obviously, we'll kind of discuss injury news a little bit later on as well. The midfield pairing two, Caldwell and Zahibo. Again, I think that kind of names itself at the moment purely because Casado's not fully fit. I kind of would have liked him to have maybe just started this match and then, there's always an option to bring him off with inside the first, well, not the first, but, to bring him off, say, 70 odd minutes into the game if he's not fully fit to play a full 90. I've heard reports that he'd play a full 90 in a reserve game, or he had a definite good amount of minutes on the pitch in a reserve game on last Sunday. So that's pleasing sign. So hopefully he'll come in. I think it probably will be Caldwell and Casado. Although to be fair, I don't think Zahibo's exactly played badly. I think out of the two so far, I think Zahibo's probably been the better. Although I'm a huge Scotty Caldwell fan, but I think Zahibo's just had that little edge, and I don't think he's actually looked terrible. I think he's still not where we need him to be at all. He's not the level of the defensive midfielder we need him to be, but I still think he hasn't looked terrible, which I suppose is the most positive thing I can say on the matter. The three behind the striker, we had Pinilla on the left, Carlos Hill in behind the striker, and then we had Till Bunbury on the right. For me, the whole issue with Pinilla on the left at the moment is that teams just haven't figured out. Last season it was a bit different because no one kind of knew what he was about, and he was a new kind of exciting player to the scene. He's still an exciting player, but I think just teams are doubling up on him. They're almost bringing their defensive midfielder just to kind of man mark him out of the game, and he's not being anywhere near as impactful as he needs to be. And the Revolution need to address this by just stop playing him on the left. I understand it's his most impactful position, and maybe we start him, but I've mentioned this on numerous tweets now that I think the front three, the three behind the striker, just need to be fully interchangeable throughout the match. We need to see Pinilla dropping in the attacking midfield role. We need to see him to be dropping on the right. You need to be switching out with the likes of Hill and whoever's playing the right midfield. It could be Agudelo, it could be Diego, it could be Teal, but they need to just be constantly interchanging throughout the match. Because for me, if you've got Pinilla starting on the left hand side, the defence are like, okay, we know what the action plan is for this. Double up on him. We know that it's going to be, these two players are going to be doubling up on him and marking him out of the game. All of a sudden, we switch to the right hand side. It's, hang on a minute, where do we go here? If he's playing the 10 spot, as you guys like to call it, then for me, again, it caused another headache for the defence. They've got to almost reshuffle and reevaluate. Some teams will pick up on this quite quickly and be able to maybe quash anything that's going to come from it, but I just think we need to try it because we've noticed that he's not been impactful or as impactful as he was last season, and I think it's purely because he's just been found out and then the tactic is to go down the left, and we did try to attack majority down the left hand side. Carlos Hill again, it wasn't a good game for him, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think he's, again, I would like to see him out wide. I just want to see him tried on that right-hand side and just see what he can do out there, because when you see him on the ball, I think he's actually been more impactful. Every time I've seen him get the ball and drift out to the either wing, he just seems to have that kind of, I wouldn't say pace, because I don't think it's pace that he's got. Just that ability to run at a defender and cause some havoc. I think when he's playing in the attacking midfield role, I think what you can see is happening is generally most teams will play with a defensive midfielder. So you've got one defender preoccupied by the striker. You've got another defensive midfielder and the other central defender looking out for Carlos Hill. They think he's going to be a threat. Again, he's being marked out of the game, and I'd just like to see him just tried out on the wing, because you can tell every time he gets the ball, you've got a feeling he could do something here, but I just don't think he's getting the balls in the right area at the moment. I think it will gel and it will come, but I would like to see him just tried out on the wing. Till Bunbury, to be fair, he had an okay game. He was up and down. He was trying to defend. Didn't have a poor game at all. I think he was one of the better players. I would like to honestly see now, because obviously Agudelo had another poor game up top. I would like to see maybe Teal just tried up there, unless Casado is back in the 11. I think we do need to see Diego now on the right, so it's a three of Pinilla, Hill and Diego, and they're interchanging throughout the match. Then maybe we just have Teal up top. I mean, he scored a good handful of goals for us last season, so again, he's not my first choice. I think we need to have a better option up there. But, we've got to work with what we've got at the moment. And Agudelo, for me, as much as I want this to be a breakout season for him, and I feel it almost needs to be a breakout season for him, the two games we've seen so far just hasn't worked. So, again, we could try him out on the right, see what happens there. I would like actually to see him playing at top with a 2, but then obviously you almost then have to, lose your either attacking midfield central player, or you lose one of your defensive midfielders, which at the moment I don't think we're set up to do. I don't think we've had enough time working on the field. But I think Agudelo with another striker would work really, really well. But yeah, for me, I think Teal had a good game. To be fair, it was one of a bad bunch. To be fair, I mean, our passing was pretty awful throughout the whole match. Sorry, not our passing. our passing wasn't great, but Bunbury's passing wasn't great. I think he only finished on 56% pass success rate, so not great. One up top again, just ineffective for me. I do feel that he's not getting the ball in the right positions. He's not almost asked to be played as a striker. I don't think we've seen the best of him because he's not been given the opportunity, and it's maybe kind of something you look at throughout the whole of our, especially since I've been watching Revolution, our strikers are just not getting fed the ball in the right positions. It just seems weird that our strikers are having to drop deep to kind of make something happen at some points. When you look back at history over the Revolution, you do see that we're playing good balls into the box, and when a striker's got the ball in that area, that's when they're the most lethal. When he's dropping outside the area and coming to collect the ball and then trying to make something happen, that's when you don't always see your strikers as effective as they could be. I think Columbus, though, they played well, to be very honest. They weren't really threatened. I think we had a lot of the, I know obviously we win the possession stats, but I still feel we had a decent amount of possession to get enough done to cause some damage. I mean, we had 11 shots. 3 of them were only on target. We was kind of hitting and hoping at some points, but 11 shots in a game, I don't think that's a bad tally. Obviously, 3 of them on shot isn't ideal. We'd like to see a few more of those making the keeper work, but I think their defensive shape was really, 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 really good. I think Columbus was. So as much as it felt at times that we were playing some decent football, because I don't think we actually played awfully terrible for a whole match. I think there was definitely spells of the game where we had good control, and I think the biggest take I can take from the game is that we try the patient build up a little bit too much sometimes. It just seems like we're trying to score this perfect goal. And if I'm going to be brutally honest here, I don't think at the moment we haven't got the players to do that. We haven't got the level of talent to actually be going after these great goals. I think we need to be a bit more direct with our passing, which I've heard out of the camp that it is something that hopefully we'll be doing, faster build-up play, which is great that that's been identified, because it just was so painful sometimes when you'd see the players and it's, passing the ball around, which is nice to have possession sometimes to calm the game down. And it's good when you've got the players who can unlock the defences from, 3 or 4 passes. But it was just so slow at times. And I was just thinking, if you just had a quicker ball into the feet and then snap 1-2 out, I don't know. For me, it was just quite frustrating to watch. So I feel it wasn't a terrible performance again. 78% pass success rate was, theirs was 83. So, it wasn't that far off. It still, still needs to be improved, but just too slow in the build-up play. Too robotic at times for me. There's not enough fluidity for the players. They're just so static. There just needs to be this, I don't know why, just interchange the players at some points, Just change it up. Players need to be able to play in multiple positions, and if they're filling in at left back sometimes, even if you're a winger, you just need to do it and just do it well. You don't see enough of Penier getting back sometimes to do his defensive duties as well. But yeah, there's still a lot of things we need to work on. It was kind of things that obviously coming into a season you'd hoped would have been worked on, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, overall, as I said, the 2 goals that Columbus scored were pretty much things that, that came out of almost nothing really. It was great play from Columbus and they hit us both times. But I feel that that's exactly how we should play. Be defensively solid, because I would say that out of the attack versus defence at the moment, I think our defence has been of least concern, because I think the 2 goals that we conceded against Columbus were just really good counter-attack plays. Yes, positioning could have been better on some of it, but it was just really, really good football from the other team. And when you're unlocked by, a really good play from the opposition, sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, yeah, that was a good goal. There wasn't much else we could have done that one. But there is times when the defence could be doing more. We're not the fastest defence, so we need to stop pressing so high. That's why we really got caught. I mean, the second goal really was we were pushing for a point, weren't we, and left a bit too much at the back, and we got caught on a quick counter again. That was just someone doing of us basically just trying to push for the point. But for me, as I said, I don't think the defence is a massive. I think they've not played terrible at all. They've not played, we're not the best defence in the world or anything like this, but I don't think they've played terrible. And I would say that it's the attack that's concerned me the most, because we, defensively, as I said, The unit isn't bad. The build-up play needs work, and that attacking third, just that final ball. Because when you're not feeding your striker, I mean, it's hard for him. I mean, as I said, one's played poor, but he's not really been given much to feed off. And I think if we do get, 1-2, Casado 2, whatever we're calling him, up top there, he's going to be in exactly the same boat. He's a goal threat from inside the box. That is what he's good at. That's what he's a fox in the box, getting the ball in the box. And he may be clumsy at times, but he will score goals. But if we're not doing that, then we're not gonna, it's gonna be a pretty long old season. So, as I said, biggest takes to take from the game is build up play needs to be quicker for me. We need to get from back to front quicker. Need to be a little bit more direct, interchangeable front three behind the striker. And feed the striker the ball. That's what we're paying him. We're paying him to score goals. The three behind him, obviously got to chip in with goals as well. But you're there to get the ball into that striker, and we're just not doing it at the moment. So I put a question at the start of the podcast. Where do we think defensively or attackingly we need work on? And for me at the moment, it's attack. It's all to do with that attack. I think defensively, we still look thin on the ground, but I think there's bigger. If we can't outscore teams, then it's gonna. I said it's gonna be a long season, because that performance against Columbus Crew wasn't terrible, and if we had a bit more about us and a bit more and took our opportunities, that could have easily been a win, because we wouldn't have been pushing the last minute to get a point. Would have been comfortable, and it's just one of those things that when you don't take your chances, you're just not gonna. It's gonna be a tough day. Obviously, Friedel did bring on 2 substitutions in the second half. I like the intent. Don't like the fact that he brought 2. I mean, one I can understand, because we needed something. But you've got 11 players on the pitch, so use them in whatever way. Reshape a little bit. Change some players' roles, change the position a little bit, but don't use 2 substitutions. It's bold. It's a bold play there, Con, and I hope it pays off for him. But he didn't, did it? Obviously, we had a penalty. Diego. It wasn't a poor. I wouldn't say it was a poor penalty. It wasn't as clean as he probably would have liked it to be. It wasn't as far in the corner. I think that's why Stefan obviously pulled off a very good save, to be fair. But it's a little bit annoying, because obviously Pinilla was the opted one. Gil was off, I think, receiving treatment at the time, or whatever. So Diego stepped up, and I would have been fairly confident that he would have buried that. But it was a good save. Wasn't the best penalty, but I wouldn't say it was a poor one. But obviously Renix made his debut as well, coming on obviously in the 45th minute, start of the second half. I mean, he had a good game. I think he looked a bit nervous, and to be fair, I probably think on the social media I was probably bigging him up a little bit too much. I've watched the game back again, and he wasn't as good as I remember him being. I think you can still see he's got something, and I think this season, if he gets a good handful of minutes this season and builds on that, I think next season he could be a very, very interesting player for us, and a very you can see he's got a talent already. He's fairly composed on the ball at times. Just little things he's got to work on. I think sometimes his decision making isn't always there. I think he doesn't always make the right decision on the ball, which again, that will just come in time. He did play a really, really nice ball to the other debutant who came on the 80th minute, Tyjon Buchanan as well. Him and Renix linked up at one point, and Renix, drove into the box, which was really promising. I think he made a little bit more of an impact than I think people thought was. Out of the two, for me, looking back now, I think Buchanan had the better of the debut. I know Renix had a longer time on the pitch, but I think Buchanan was only 10 minutes or so, but he was quite electric when he came on, got the ball, just constantly wanted to drive forward as well, played simple passes where he needed to be, but his first option was got the ball, looked forward straight away, his head was always up, looking towards that goal and trying to work out how he could kind of get the ball nearer to the goal of the striker. So that was quite pleasing to see. I think Diego had a decent game as well. I don't think he was, an improvement as such. I think. Well, no. Sorry. He was an improvement over Pinilla, but I don't think he was as ineffective as he probably could be on the right. I think if we would have just tried him on the right and Renix maybe on the left, I would have liked to have seen that again, just changed out. He wasn't bad. He didn't have a bad game. I just don't think playing him out there for pretty much the whole game what was ideal for him first of all. But I still think I think he did as well as he could do. It's quite hard to sometimes come in a game when you're coming in to do something because you understand that the team's underperforming. It's quite a bit of a weight on your shoulders, especially for somebody as young as Justin Rennicks. But other than that, I like the kind of idea of bringing on a substitution at halftime if you are playing that poor. But as I said, you've got 11 players on the pitch. Try and reshuffle them first. If you need to, yes, then do it. But to bring on two, it just left us in that kind of 60th minute time. I know we're all calling for changes last game, but in that 60th minute in this game, we couldn't really risk it just in case something happened. So it was a risk. It didn't pay off. But I like the fact he is kind of thinking about that thing now, and that it's something that he's willing to do as well if it's the right thing for the team. So that is another positive, I suppose, we can take from the game. But I've already rambled, already too much on the Columbus Crew game, so we're going to leave that one now. Kind of give my overall thoughts on the game and individuals and how we fared. I'm not panicking too much at the moment, but just attack wise, I think there needs to be more. So we're going to be looking at some of the news, obviously coming out of the camp as well. Now, first of all, transfer news. It wasn't all the transfer news we were hoping for. Unfortunately, it was two players going out on loan to Birmingham Legion as well. Obviously joining Jay Heaps over there with a handful of other Revolution players, Kobayashi as well as Femi. You've got Zachary Harivo and Brian Wright leaving there, which to be fair makes sense for me. I mean, Zachary's not going to get games. I do think this will probably be his last season at the Revolution. Same with Wright. I can understand the Harivo one because, as I said, I don't think he's getting into that 18 anytime soon. At all. The Brian Wright one, though, again, I'm not too sure because you always hear Brad Friedel speaking quite highly of him. But then we're having a bit of a crisis at the moment up front, and you've got a striker who, again, isn't, a world beater or anything, but why not give him a chance? I don't understand the logic behind that. We're having a crisis where we're struggling to score goals. We send the striker out on loan. So that logic for me doesn't really add up. I'm actually happy for him because he needs minutes this season, and he's at the moment it doesn't really look like he's going to get any through the Revolution, which, as I said, is slightly bizarre because of how highly Brad speaks of him. I like him. I like that lad. I think I would have, put him on the bench and give him a shot if Casado's not fully fit. Juan Casado's not fully fit. You've got Brian Wright, put him on the bench and bring him on for the last 20 minutes. See what he can do. He's done it before. But yeah, I'm kind of happy. I don't understand it, the Brian Wright one, but I'm happy that they're both out there now getting some minutes underneath their belts. Obviously, 3 of the players were named up for international call-ups as well. You've got Justin Rennicks called up for the US under-20s team, I think it was. You've then got Harivo called up to Haiti, which again, I kind of had the conversation on Twitter. I don't understand how him and Somi are getting call-ups when they're not playing at the moment. I know they have a small pool of players to pick from, and they probably both play well for their country. But when you're not playing minutes for a team, it's a little bit confusing. But I suppose I've just got to put up with it. But yeah, and Gabriel Somi obviously the one getting called up for Syria as well. So good luck to all 3 of them. Other than that, unfortunately, there's not really much else injury news. Obviously, Juan Casado is day-to-day still. I think we will see him definitely at least on the bench against Toronto if we don't see him in the 11. Andrew Farrell looks like it's going to be April now. He's got some kind of retina damage, which they're going to be assessing at the start of April and seeing where he is then. And then we've got Luis Casado, as I said, who played a match in the reserves team on Sunday and came through pretty unscathed. So it looks like he should hopefully be slotting back into the 11 this time round. I suppose the other news, which isn't really Revolution as such, but Jermaine Jones has joined an indoor soccer team. I think it's from Ottawa Fury, I think it was called something like that. And I didn't realise that Landon Donovan actually plays for one of those teams as well. So, yeah, it looks like that now when the retired players of the MLS are now, wanting to get back into football, that's going to be possibly some of their options out there for their players. So, but other than that, yeah, pretty quiet, really. Brad Friedel's come out with a few sound bites as well I've seen floating around. Obviously about this imminent DP player. I understand, that they're trying to do the right thing, which I'm all for. I'm all for not rushing them, but just a little bit, a little bit of news would be nice. We keep seeing all the teams signing players, so please just try and get it done ASAP if we can. In other news as well, away kind of from the Revolution as such, well, not really, it is linked, but I don't know how, but I've only just noticed that there's a channel in the UK called Free Sport, which is available on my TV, which plays hockey, not always American hockey, it plays, Russian hockey and all this kind of stuff as well, and different leagues, but it plays a few NBA games, it plays MLS games as well, and it actually is showing the Revolution versus Toronto game as well. So for the first time, ever, I think it is. I think this will be the first time ever I'll be able to watch a New England Revolution game with some commentary, which it's a weird thing to actually watch a football match without commentary. I don't know if everyone's ever done it, but it is a really weird thing to do. But yeah, so that's some great news from me, really. Well, not from me, for me. My English hasn't been the best in today's episode. I'm thinking about going back to maybe scripting bits of this. Well, not scripting, but writing some stuff down. Because doing it, when I listen back sometimes, it's a little bit jumbly and messy. And I know that's exactly the reason why, because I'm not kind of going point by point. This is all coming from the top of the head. There's nothing written down at all. So talking of the game against Toronto, we'll kind of run through how I expect the Revolution to play, how I want the Revolution to play, and then we'll talk about predictions as well. So obviously we're going to be lining up in the formation. It'll be Brad Knighton in goal. It will be Castello. It'll be Mancien, Tony, and it will be Brandon Boy. In front of them, I think we will see the return of Castello, and I think it will be Scotty Caldwell with him. This is what I think the Revolution will play. I think we'll start with Christian Pinilla on the left again. We'll start with Carlos Hill in the number 10 spot. Then we'll start with Jago out on the right, and I think we'll start with Teal Bunbury up top in this game. I think Juan Casado will be on the bench, and I believe he will come on for Teal Bunbury in the second half. I think we'll see another few minutes for Renix. I think he'll come on quite late in the game for Diego, and then once again I possibly think Casado, Luis Casado will be taken off for Zahibo, maybe around the 60th minute mark, depending on obviously how his fitness levels are in the game. How I kind of want us to line up would be the same back five, really: Knighton, Castillo, Mancien, Tony, and Bai. Then I would like to see Castillo, Casado, and I'm probably going to go for Zahibo if I'm going to be perfectly honest. And then I'd like to see Carlos Hill line up on the left hand side. I'd like to see Diego given a chance at the 10 spot, and then Christian Pinilla out on the right. And I'd like to see a start for Juan Casado up top. Predictions in terms of the game, it's a tough one for me because all my predictions so far have been completely wrong and miles off. Toronto, for me, it's going to be a tough game, isn't it? It is going to be a tough game. It's never going to be easy going to Toronto. They're obviously not in the, best of form themselves, but it's kind of away from the MLS. It is obviously in the CONCACAF Champions League. They obviously won 3-1 against Philadelphia Union, a very good performance from them. But for me, as I said, it's going to be a tough game. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one for the Revolution. I think Juan Casado will get his first Revolution goal as well. So let me know your thoughts on the game, how you think the Revolution will line up. Any questions you've got in the comment section down below, as well as your predictions for the game against Toronto. And that pretty much wraps up today's episode, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed this one. If you have, then don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. And I will catch you next week for the next one.